As she entered the room, she paid absolutely no attention to us. Fists clenched, and in an absolute rage, she stomped her way over to Pinstripe. You immature, childish, infantile, excuse for a man! Do you actually think this is acceptable behavior? She shouted, leaning over and yelling directly in his face, followed by the croaking of a little frog sitting atop her head. Ribbit. And all at once, Pinstripe simply burst out laughing, falling backwards in his chair, kicking his legs furiously. Stop laughing! She shouted, angrily as Pinstripe rolled around on the ground. What is it with you and this nonsense? She exclaimed, as she turned around and started making her way towards the window of my room, opening it. It doesn't matter what I do. I get rid of the frog, she says, grabbing the frog from off of her head and in an underhanded loop, throwing it outside of the window. And in a tiny little flash of red, the frog is right back on the top of her head, as if it never moved at all. I get rid of it, it comes right back, she said, grabbing the frog from the top of her head again, this time throwing it onto the table. I burn it to a crisp, she said, pointing her finger, as the location where the frog was sitting on the table bursts into flames. And as the flames finally subside and the frog is gone, there's another tiny flash of red light. And once again, sitting comfortably on the top of her head, that little green frog, Ribbit, croaking its peaceful little croak, as if nothing happened. It doesn't matter what I do. I smash it, I throw it away, I banish it to a faraway dimension. It just comes back. I lock it in a box that stops and blocks all magical effects. It just comes back. I cast a high-level incantation, sealing it away in its own little cube of time and space. It doesn't matter. It just comes back. Ribbit. Again, the frog croaks. Pinstripe still rolling around furiously laughing on the ground. Meanwhile, I'm actually having a little bit of trouble holding it in myself, trying to cover my mouth and not be as bold as Pinstripe. I look over to Alice and Eliza and see that they're failing to contain their laughter as well. Crazy or not, this frog gag was definitely funny. However, his assistant didn't seem to think so, as Pinstripe managed to get a hold of himself for a few moments, trying to pull himself up on the table. I don't know what you're so upset about, Victoria. It's just a little frog. I happen to think you look quite nice with it. You could start a trend, he said, still trying to hold back a chuckle. Why in the blazes do I put up with you? She says, placing one hand over her face in frustration. The name Victoria Goldenleaf used to be respected throughout the magical world. Either respected or feared. I was named Sorceress of the Year 3 times. Won the Bernal Magical Championships. People used to wish to be me. But then I started working for you. Do you know what I am now? A laughing stock. These childish, never-ending pranks. They're utterly ridiculous. And shameful to boot. Like the time you replaced all the water in the pipes in my house with a magical slime. Or the time you gave me a magical pair of shoes that made me not realize that I was speaking in squirrel. And don't even get me started on the time that somehow, some way, you managed to get boudoir photos of me and submitted them to the Magical Gazette. Magic casters all over the world are leering at me. Lecherous old men probably have me hanging up in their rooms right now. Why? Why must you always carry on with this never-ending series of nonsense? Have I not been a good employee? Do I not tolerate your endless eccentricities? Why do I even bother working for you? She says as she grasps a hold of the man in the pinstripe suit's jacket. Because of you, I've been getting mocked all day long. It's a never-ending series of laughter at my expense. Congratulations! You've made a fool of me again. Why? Why on earth do I even put up with you? Oh, relax, Victoria, the man in the pinstripe suit replies. It's just a frog. You take reputation far too seriously. You, Victoria, stand head and shoulders far above your peers. There are casters all over this world who would give life and limb to be you or have the talents that you possess. But what is the point in being powerful, in having magic and skill and ability, if you can't just enjoy yourself every now and again, Victoria? Come now, really. It's funny. Laugh. That's your problem. You always take everything so seriously. Have you ever thought, perhaps instead of simply complaining about my mischievous nature, that perhaps you should be a little mischievous yourself? Put hair dye in my bathwater. Put something in my tea that makes me unable to speak. Have some fun, Victoria. It won't kill you. Not everything has to be about business. We can have fun, the man in the pinstripe suit said, as he tried to adjust his suit back to center, making himself look proper. Please, just get rid of it. I've tried everything. It won't go away, Victoria says, at this point just looking sort of defeated. Very well, the man in the pinstripe suit says, raising his hands and snapping one of his fingers. And in a tiny flash of red, the frog is gone. Oh, thank heavens, Victoria replied, as she began to feel the top of her head just to make sure. Now that that's resolved, whatever are you doing here? Oh, I thought I would let you enjoy the frog's company for a little while and have a chat with my friend Reginald. But it appears our time has run its course, so I might as well get back to work, he said, snapping his fingers once again and summoning a red doorway. As he began to head towards it, he turned back around. So, will you be joining me, Victoria? He asked. No, I am taking the rest of the day off. See if you find getting your own tea funny, she said, still looking pretty upset. And in the pinstripe suit simply shrugged and turned around, walking right through the doorway. And in a shimmer of red light, it disappeared, along with him. I do question my sanity for continuing to work with that man, she said after the doorway had disappeared. I do hope that he wasn't too much of a bother to you, she said, looking over to me. Oh, I'm sorry, I seem to have neglected to introduce myself. As you have friends, I suppose it would be common manners, I suppose. My name is Victoria Goldenleaf. I am the assistant to the man who just left, and work with him in a number of capacities. Primarily, I tend to feel much more like a babysitter than an assistant. Only in this instance, I'm babysitting a man-child with nearly unlimited power. As you can imagine, it can be very taxing on the mind. Regardless, who are your little friends? Young Reginald? This one is Alice. She's my girlfriend. And over there, the one with the glasses is Eliza. We spent a few moments introducing ourselves a little bit more properly, with a little light conversation. It was a fairly relaxing break from the tedium of having to focus on how to deal with all of these problems that I'm facing. The man in the pinstripe suit may have given me an end goal, but I still needed to find an effective strategy to carry it out. This was not going to be simple.